The Outlaw Josey Wales was to just another Western. It was a story of grief, revenge, and the search for humanity after everything had burned down. But that is exactly why it hits so much harder today. The movie is still there, vivid in our minds, but the actors who gave it soul have aged, drifted away from the cameras, or left us for good. This is the Outlaw Josey Wales then and now. Sometimes what sticks with us isn't just how they changed. It is how that haunted world still lingers. Captain Fletcher is one of the film's most chilling characters. He is not loud, but he has a cult loud. He carries a specific power, the kind that tricks men into trusting a lie. He is the master of empty promise. John Vernon, born February 24, 1932, was 44. When the film hit 76, he gave Fletcher a steady, cold demeanor that made his betrayal feel deeply personal and incredibly personal. In this story, Fletcher sits at the crossroads of war and surrender, caught between survival and a false mercy. That is exactly what gives his performance so much weight. He isn't just some background officer. He is part of the deep scar Josey carries with him. It is a reminder that the dangerous guys aren't always shouting threats. Sometimes they were just talking calmly, while everyone else their weapons. Vernon had that face and voice Hollywood loved for power and intimidation, a natural at playing not charge. After this movie, he was unforgettable as Dean Wormer in Animal House and the mayor in the classic Dirty Harry. He kept working in film, television, and voice acting until he passed away on February 1, 2005 at 72, following complications after heart surgery. Captain Fletcher sticks with us because John Vernon knew how to make betrayal look disciplined. Betrayal look disciplined. Josey Wales is the open wound at the film's core. He is the man who survives a massacre and carries that grief through the frontier like a heavy seer. Eastwood, born May 31, 1930. He was 46 when the movie released in 1976. He gave Josey a silence that any speech. This isn't he just a gunman. He's a man truly broken by life. He is shattered by war, betrayal, and loss. Yet he is still unable to kill the last bits of his own humanity. Every person he meets on the road helps turn his revenge into something complex, like a second chance finally belonging somewhere. Eastwood's acting works because he never overdoes the pain. He lets it live in his stare and his quiet pauses. After the movie, Eastwood became a titan of American cinema, not just as an actor, but as the Oscar-winning director Unforgiven, $1 Million Baby, and Mystic River. In 2026, he's 95. He's one of the last legends from the old Hollywood guard, still standing tall. Josey lives on because Eastwood made him a man fighting to keep vengeance from being the only thing aside. Captain Tyrrell is the face of ruthless pursuit. He is the one who turns hunting men into a science, giving the movie its coldest, most lethalest. Bill McKinney, born September 12, 1931. He was 44 in 1976 and brought Tyrrell a coiled menace. He seemed dangerous. He never wasted a single breath of energy. Tyrrell is not chaotic. He is focused, bitter, and sure of his mission. The perfect dark shadow to contrast Josey's sown glough. In a story built on war wounds, Tyrrell represents the violence that keeps burning long after the should have stopped. McKinney had a real talent for playing hard, broken men, but behind those roles was a long career as a character actor, stretching across movies and TV's UVs. He was unforgettable in Deliverance, where his sheer intensity made him one of the most feared prisoners of the whole era. He passed away on December 1, 2011, at 80. Captain Tyrrell remains iconic because Bill McKinney made cruelty look disciplined, the kind that always cuts deeper loud noise. Lone Waddy is the soul of the film. His humor and wisdom turned Josey, his revenge into something once again. Chief Dan George, born July 24, 1899, was 76 when the movie released in 1976. He brought Lone Waddy a sense of tenderness and dignity that no other actor could have possibly delivered. Waddy is funny, sure, but he is never just a punchline. Under those dry lines and quiet smiles is a man exhausted from seeing his people broken. His history was dismissed, and survival became a daily compromise. That is why his presence is so moving. He does not preach, he just carries truth in every single line. Beyond movies, Chief Dan George was a poet, activist, artist, and one of the most vital indigenous voices to ever emerge in American cinema. He gained huge fame for Little Big Man and used his platform to fight the historical mistreatment indigenous people. He died on September 23, 1981, at age 82. Lone Waddy is unforgettable because Chief Dan George made loss sound wise, gentle, and impossible. Nor Little Moonlight is one of the film's most gentle characters, yet she has a strength that feels deeply rooted in survival. Geraldine Keams, born August 19, 1951, was 24 when the movie came out in 76. She gave the role a calm resilience that sticks with you long after the movie ends. In a world scarred by war and violence, Little Moonlight expands the film's heart way beyond Salem Wage. She brings gentleness, but never fragility. There is a steadiness in how she exists within danger, giving her role dignity. Keams later continued film and television. She also became a storyteller, teacher, and a cultural advocate for Native artists, helping to preserve and pass on sacred traditions far beyond the screen. Her life was not without hardship, including long periods of professional struggle and recovery to major accident, but she stayed committed to storytelling. In 2026, she is 74. Little Moonlight is memorable because Geraldine Keams had understood that quiet strength does not need to strength. Jamie represents the film's image of youth, caught in the brutal machinery of war. He is the kind of kid who still carries innocence, while the world is busy trying to crush it. Sam Bottoms, born the 17th, 1955, was only 20 when the film came out in 1976. He gave Jamie a fragile sincerity that felt heartbreakingly real. What makes the role last is its crushing sense of interrupted promise. Jamie is not built to dominate the screen. He reminds us how many young lives are broken before they ever have a chance to find themselves. Bottoms always had that quality: open, searching, and vulnerable. He looked faintly bruised by experience even in youth. After the film, he acted in projects late in projects now. Eventually, his life was marked by addiction and health troubles that overshadowed his early promise. He died on December 16, 2008 at 53 after battling brain cancer. Jamie is memorable because Sam Bottoms made youth feel tragic, not because he was weak, but because he still believed in a future. The Travis Cobb drifts through the movie like a man shaped by the old frontier itself. He carried a weathered steadiness that only a lifetime of hard living could ever produce. Sheb Wooley, born 10th, 1921, was 55 when the film arrived in 1976. He gave Cobb a natural ease, making the character feel like he belonged to the land as much as the story. Cobb is not one of those loud mythic figures, and that is exactly where his value lies. He adds texture and history, showing a West populated by men who lived through resurgence and loss and row before Josey ever rode into view. Wooley's own life stretched way beyond acting and into music. He became a phenomenon through the hit Purple People Eater, while continuing a massive career in Western television. He died on September 16, 2003 at 82 after battling leukemia. Travis Cobb is memorable because Sheb Wooley brought a lived-in authenticity that only comes from a performance to stand in the dust and silence. The Carpetbagger is one of the film's stranger characters, a post-war scavenger who embodies pure Q who embody dignity. Parfrey, born October 5, 1922, was 53 when the movie was released in 1976. He gave the guy this twitchy, nervous vibe that you just couldn't forget. Parfrey had a face Hollywood never really let the audience trust, and he used it to perfection. The Carpetbagger isn't some epic villain. He's small, greasy, and feels way more real because he is just one of those guys profiting from the chaos after the real killers move on. Parfrey spent his career playing these strange, haunted characters or guys who were totally morally bankrupt. His work in classic westerns and TV dramas left a long legacy as a legendary character actor. He passed away on July 29, 1984 at 61. The Carpetbagger sticks because Parfrey made weakness feel dangerous. That kind of gritty performance really gets under your skin. 10 Bears shows up late, but he brings this deep, spiritual energy to the film. The kind of presence that shifts the whole mood, just by standing perfectly still. Will Sampson, born September 27, 1933, was 42 when this movie in 76. He gave 10 Bears massive physical authority without ever needing to turn it into a spectacle. What makes it powerful is that 10 Bears isn't just some obstacle or a tough guy stereotype. He feels ancient, steady, and clearly sees what all that violence has cost everyone in the valley. Sampson's own life story gave that screen presence even more weight. Before acting, he worked rodeos and survived poverty, racism, and back-breaking labor. He later became one of the most famous native actors after One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He died in 1987 at Fitra after a heart and lung transplant. 10 Bears is unforgettable because Will Sampson made simple stillness feel absolutely monumental. Like history itself just walked into the frame. Rose adds a small but very memorable warmth to the movie. She is a frontier presence who feels both tough and quietly hurt by the world. Joyce Jameson, born September 26, 1932, was 43 when Josey came out in 1976. She gave Rose this wary brightness that fit the film's emotional vibe perfectly. Jameson had a gift for playing women who seemed bubbly but carried a deep sadness underneath. That quality makes Rose stick with you, even in a movie full of male violence. What works is she never tries too hard. She just feels like part of that rough world, just another soul trying to be kind when the world makes it really hard. Off-screen, Jameson had a long career in comedy, but her later life was sadly marked by depression. She died January 16, 1987, at age 54. Rose stays with you because Joyce Jameson put a faint ache in every smile. In this story, Grandma Sarah is one of the movie's biggest surprises for humor and human warmth. She is a reminder that even a revenge story, there is room for a stubborn spirit. Paula Truman, born December 29, 1897, was 78 when the film released in 1976. She gave Grandma Sarah that kind of seasoned energy that veteran character actresses could just pull off naturally. Sarah's spark matters because she softens the movie's edge without losing any of the seriousness. She feels like a woman who has seen too much to waste time pretending. That blunt honesty is exactly what gives her scenes such charm. Truman spent decades working on stage and screen before this role. She was the kind of actor who built a career on being reliable and making even brief appearances feel complete. She died March 23, 1994 at 96. Grandma Sarah remains memorable because Paula Truman's survival feels spirited. That kind of presence can really brighten up even a gritty Western. Kelly is one of the film's quieter companions, making the world feel like it is full of real people. Matt Clark, born November 25, 1936, he was 39 when the movie came out in 1976, and he brought Kelly a grounded toughness that fit the movie's rough, moral landscape perfectly. Clark's face had this look of honest exhaustion. It was perfect for the role. Kelly isn't the main character, but he makes the frontier feel real. A place full of men shaped by simple heroics. Clark built a long and very sturdy career as one of Hollywood's greatest supporting actors, showing up in dozens of projects where he added grit, sorrow, and deep credibility. In 2026, he's 89. Kelly works because Matt Clark knew exactly how to support a Western. He didn't try to outshine the legend, he just made the world feel true. 10 Spot is another of those weathered souls who looks like he's already lived through 3 long lives in the ream. Royal Dano, born November 16, 1922, was 53 during the Outlaw Josey Wales, bringing a haunted quality to the role that made him a truly unique character actor. Dano's sharp face and slow, heavy delivery gave 10 Spot a feeling of ancient sadness, like the guy had seen enough and only said what really mattered. That made him a Western icon. He was never just background dressing. He felt like he was carved from the very history the movie captured. Dano spent years in film and radio, becoming one of the most distinctive supporting actors in American cinema, especially in stories about the frontier's dark side. He passed away May 15, 1994, at 71. 10 Spot sticks with you because Royal Dano could make one line sound like it had been brewing immensely for decades. The Comanche leader is an imposing figure, a man who commands the screen through presence alone. John Quaid, born April 1, 1938, was 38 when the film hit theaters in 1976, and he brought a raw physical power that made him a favorite staple in Eastwood's rough Western world. Cried. Certain kind of blunt frontier force energy, using his rugged features and intensity to create characters who felt dangerous the second they walked in. That made him perfect for a story built on betrayal, violence, and shifting loyalties, and temporary alliances for survival. Quaid became a very familiar face in westerns and action flicks, often working alongside Eastwood, physically imposing, tough, and very plain-spoken men. He passed away August 9, 2009, at 71. The Comanche leader works because John Quaid knew how to make power feel physical, as if the character lived his bones before he ever spoke. Sim Carstairs is one of the more bizarre characters on the frontier, the kind of eccentric figure who keeps the story from feeling like just another typical Western drama. William O'Connell, born May 12, 1936, was 40 when the movie debuted in 1976, and he gave Sim an odd rhythm that made him instantly unforgettable. O'Connell was great at playing caricature, making Noswin-like jokes. He made that strangeness feel lived in, almost respectable, in a world of violence and tough guys. Sim reminds the audience that the frontal of strange, unpredictable people, and who didn't he fit in. People who just didn't he fit the heroic mold. O'Connell worked steadily in film and television for many years, becoming a recognizable face that made every scene he was in feel a bit richer. He died on March 5, 2024, at 87. Sim Carstairs remains memorable because William O'Connell made the unusual feel human. Every great Western needs that life at the edges. A.B. is one of the film's brief, warm, and recognizable supporting roles. A guy who adds familiarity and a bit of natural humor to a world otherwise filled with pain. Len Lesser, born December 3, 1922, was 53 when the movie came out in 1976. He brought Abe that same easy charm that would later make him a television legend. Lesser had a face that looked like it belonged anywhere, from a gritty frontier camp to a modern suburban sitcom. That versatility was his gift. Throughout his long and busy career, he worked constantly, eventually becoming known to millions as the unforgettable Uncle Leo. But way before that, he built a decades-long career on the kind of steady professionalism that keeps an actor working long after tracks change. He passed away on February 16, 2011 at 88. Abe stands out because Len Lesser made every tiny part feel like it came with a whole life story happening just off camera. The shopkeeper is a minor role. In a movie like Josey Wales, even small characters help create a world full of memory, trade, survival. Buck Cartalian, born August 13, 1922, was 54 when the film came out in 1976. He brought a raw, unpolished grit shaped by a tough life before acting. Cartalian was a pro wrestler and blue-collar worker, way before Hollywood made him one of its go-to guys. You can see it on screen. His performance never feels forced or over-rehearsed. He looks like a man who actually stood in the dirt, making hard deals with dangerous people. Cartalian kept acting into his 90s, known for his kindness off-set, despite usually play guys you would not want to cross. He passed away on May 24, 2016, at 93. Buck Cartalian remains memorable because he brought something to every role that cinema can never fake. The truth of a long life already lived. Lige is another one of those quiet, steady presences on the frontier. It is the kind of supporting role that helps make the world of Josey Wales feel full of men carrying their own deep histories. Doug McGrath, born November 10, 1935, was 40 when the film came out in 1976. He gave Lige classic Western steadiness, weathered and totally believable. McGrath spent his whole career playing exactly these kinds of rugged men. He wasn't playing legends, but the writers and hands who made the frontier feel real. Instead of that history really helps the movie. Lige might not get the big quotes, but he adds real weight to the world Josey travels through. McGrath worked steadily for decades in Hollywood and TV. He became a familiar face whose success was built on being reliable, not a star. In 2026, he is naughty. McGrath understood exactly what a supporting Western actor has to do to be effective. Make the legends feel like they could happen to real people. All is a minor character, but he carries that frontier vibe that gives the whole movie such a live feel. John Mitchum, born September 6, 1919, was 57 in the film. He gave all a rough, easy credibility that had made him a Western movie staple for years. Mitchum often played in the shadow of his famous older brother, Robert Mitchum, but he had his own talent for roles that needed grit and warmth. He felt like a man who had seen some hard times, a quality that fit the film's world perfectly. Off camera, Mitchum was a musician. His life in Hollywood was defined by working steadily rather than chasing fame. The true path of a classic character actor. He passed away on November 29, 2001, at 82. All stays with us because Mitchum belonged to a group of actors who made movies feel real, just by real. Bloody Bill Anderson is one of the movie's darkest shadows. He represents that historical menace, bringing back memories of war, cruelty, and in chaos without. John Russell, born January 3, 1921, was 55 when the movie came out in 1976. He played Anderson with a cold, quiet power that felt way more dangerous than any loud villain could. Russell had a severe, classic Western face that gave him natural authority in roles about command law and sudden violence. In this movie, he embodies the brutal leftovers of the Civil War. Josey is trying to escape. Offset, Russell spent decades as a steady Western star and TV regular. Famous for lawmen and many frontier roles, he brought that stern intensity until he died at 70 in 19. Bloody Bill Anderson stays memorable because John Russell knew how to make historical menace feel truly dangerous and real, like the violence he carried had been waiting in the dirt long before this film even started. Laura Lee brings a rare, soft light to a world of smoke, grief, and revenge. That is exactly why her character stays with you after the credits. Sandra Locke, born May 1944, was 32 when the Outlaw Josey Wales arrived in 76. She gave Laura Lee this fragile warmth that never feels weak, even in a story defined by violence and pursuit. Surrounded by men hardened by war, Laura Lee is the quiet proof that a little tenderness can still survive. She is gentle and emotionally open, yet there is real strength in how she pushes through all that fear, that certainty. Lockett's performance works because she never tries to force the character too hard. She just lets that softness carry its own weight. After the movie, Locke was tied to a string of Clint Eastwood projects, but her life off camera became far more painful and complicated. Defined by a bitter split from Eastwood, legal fights, years of career frustration, and eventually very serious illness. Long before that, she already had an Oscar nomination for The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, proving she was more than just a band face. Another story. She passed away November 3, 2018 at 74. Laura Lee is unforgettable because uncanny something. Revenge. The stories rarely keep a reason to believe the heart can actually stay open after such heavy loss. And just like that, the dust settles once again. The gunfire fades, the trail goes quiet, and Josey Wales rides into memory. But time did what the fan noted. It changed the people behind all those haunted faces. Some lived long lives, some suffered deeply, and many are now gone. If this rewind brought back that old age, stick with Rewind 1960s for even more journeys through that still go inside us.